Hello everyone. Have you ever asked yourself the question, would London be different if project management had existed in the 17th century? Neither have I, but we're going to look at it. In 1660, almost all of London burned down and up to 70,000 Londoners lost their homes. The so-called Great Fire of London started off small in the bakery of Thomas Fariner on Pudding Lane, but it quickly spread and devastated most of the city. While the layout of London streets and the hot dry summer that year were the main reasons for the fire's progression, another big reason was leadership, or lack thereof. You see, the Lord Mayor of London, Thomas Bloodworth, simply didn't have the management skills to prevent this kind of disaster. And that raises the very obvious question of would London have burnt down if the Mayor had utilised effective project management? So, we're going to have a look at how Prince 2's principles might have influenced this disaster had they been implemented at the time. Number 1, continual business justification. There was obviously a need for continual business justification in preventing a fire in a city, because it's a fire in a city. Number 2, learn from experience. Fires weren't unusual in those days. In fact, in 1212 there was another Great Fire, the Great Fire of Southwark, which killed thousands of people. So maybe, if the Lord Mayor Bloodworth had looked at what happened in the past, he would have acted differently, thus preventing the fire. Number 3, define roles and responsibilities. Instead of acting as a project manager, defining roles and listening to the senior supplier's expertise, Thomas Bloodworth went back to bed and ignored the fire, as any good mayor would. When he was advised by experienced firemen to demolish parts of the city in order to stop the spread of the fire, he said, no. Perhaps Thomas Bloodworth was in need of a racing matrix. Number 4, manage by stages. This basically means moving from one step to the other. So we have stage 1, creating barriers to stop the spread of the fire, which we know Thomas Bloodworth ignored. Stage 2, help evacuate Londoners, get them out of the city to avoid the fire. Stage 3, inform the king about the problem and get some help. Or you could do as Samuel Pepys did and hide your cheese in the garden before saving your wife. Number 5, manage by exception. Manage by exception is all about defined tolerances. So let's unpack that. There wasn't really room for a time tolerance in this sort of incident, because it's not practical to take breaks while you're fighting a fire, or a cost tolerance, which shouldn't really be a priority when you're talking about saving the capital of the UK. However, there are some tolerances. You could make tolerances around which buildings need saving and which ones could be lost. To some extent this happened. A lot of Londoners came together to save the Tower of London, mainly because it was full of gunpowder, and fire with gunpowder is a negative outcome. However, had people assessed the tolerances more effectively, some other major landmarks could have been saved as well. Number 6, focus on products. This is all about quality requirements and what's expected of the project, the actual product or services. So in this case, that would have been London surviving the fire with as little damage as possible. While this is hopefully what Londoners were aiming for, they weren't exactly successful in the matter. However, the official death toll of the Great Fire of London was relatively low. There are a few unrecorded deaths that we don't know about, but if we regard as saving as many people as possible was the product, then we were successful, or they were successful. I had very little to do with it. Number 7, tailor to suit the environment. During those September days when the fire was raging, there was a strong westerly wind, which means that compared to an ordinary fire, the circumstances were slightly different. You need to tailor your approach to the environment in which you're operating. So I think the conclusion we've arrived at is that had the Lord Mayor of London acted more like a project manager, London would look vastly different today. I know this is quite different to the kind of videos that AXELOS normally uploads on their YouTube channel, but we're trying something different. Let us know if you like it. And subscribe to this channel and we'll be putting more stuff up at some point.